I'll go around and stuff. Another one for today. Topic is green screen. No, the topic is loyalty. And the reason it came up, and I don't have anything good to say about it because I don't even know what it is. Anyway, I was watching a History Channel good episode on Battle of Gettysburg, and a recreation of various critical maneuvers, attacks, counterattacks, the overall strategies, and so on and so on and so on. And I've been aware of Pickett's charge for a really long time. I don't remember the number, but a lot. And they had to cross like, I think it was like 14 or 1,500 yards. It was like 15 football fields of open ground, slanted upward to break through a Union line at the top of this hill that had a cannon on it. And Lee had ordered this potential breakthrough. If they could breach that point in the Union line, they could then wheel around to the left, well, whatever position it was, and then attack Union soldiers who were up on top of that hill and drive them down, and potentially force the Union to retreat from the battle and free them so they could continue on moving north toward Philadelphia. Anyway, I've thought about it before. Here I am, a Civil War guy. I can imagine myself being a Civil War soldier. And I'm in this group of men, and that morning the orders come down that at noon, 1 o'clock, we're going to proceed up that way. And there's going to be like 15,000 of us, and we're going to break through that Union line up at the top of that hill. And anybody in their right mind, these people are all been battled. They've been through multiple battles already, or they've heard talks from other soldiers about battles already. And I don't know if they were clear enough, close enough to the actual where they were going to make this maneuver, but I suspect that somebody went and took a look and said, I don't know about this one. 1,500 yards of completely open ground with cannon up on the high ground. And so I always say to myself, why didn't I don't want to do this, And as far as I know, I've never read, there might have been, but I've never read that any one of those men that were called to make Pickett's charge, and call it Pickett's charge, but that particular action that day didn't say, no, this is crazy. I'm sure probably some of Lee's advisors may have cautioned against it. It's a side distraction, but Lee was always much better in defense than he was in offense. And it was usually because the Union had they had significant man advantage on the battlefield. And it would be better if they charged you, you had the high ground, and they charged you. And he was successful in doing that several times where he was on the defense. Here's where he was trying to push north and the Union territory and potentially capture Philadelphia, hoping that would force Lincoln and the North to at least have a ceasefire or maybe even sue for peace. If he could do that, if he could push that far north. Anyway, being a soldier in that group, I say to myself, man, my chances, my odds of getting up there are slim to none. And I always wondered, what were those men thinking, at the time. Okay, fast forward. Today I was someplace. I was talking to this guy. I was at a cigarette store, cigarette shop, and we often talk when I go in there and buy cigarettes. And he brought up the word loyalty, and he was saying that he has found his loyalty hasn't been very beneficial to him. And I had to stop him. I'm saying, loyalty? What does that mean? What does that feel like? Because I have to confess it's new to me. And when I looked it up, it is in fact some sort of feeling. And I think the feeling is a component of other feelings. Loyalty is not a elementary particle of emotions. It is a combination, I think, of emotions. Obviously, the situation, and that's the case with most emotions, they're evoked, or evoked is the right word. The brain creates an emotional state based on the situation and its own memories, what happened in prior or similar circumstances. Okay, so I don't think loyalty is a elementary particle, elementary emotion. I think it is a complex emotion that has parameters to it or other functions to it. And he was saying that he was really loyal to his daughter, that no matter, he loved her no matter what, and he would always support her. And whatever situation she got in, he was loyal to her. And he was saying that he had been loyal. He'd been working at a cigarette shop now for 8 years, and he can't get them to give him a raise. And the cost of living has gone up. And he was saying that the food banks in this area only distribute food on Friday afternoon. Well, he's always working Friday afternoon, so he talked to his bosses and said, I'd really like to go get some of that free food on Friday afternoon, and they said no. And so he said, well, my compromise in my mind is they won't give me a pay raise, and they won't let me out Friday afternoon to go get food, so I'm just going to close up the store on Friday afternoon and go get that food. And he was saying, I've been loyal to him. There are times people will come in with guns and stolen all the money. There's been people come in who are not 18 years old and threaten him because he won't sell them cigarettes. And he stuck through all that. He said, I don't get paid enough to be my life threatened here at this place. He'd been loyal to his employer. And that did ring some bells in my mind. There are been times, but more it rang a bell that has been a haunting question over the years. There have been times where there were bosses or people who supervised me or otherwise had the ability to hire and fire or chide or whatever. And that's the way I describe it. They were kind to me. I'm not sure they pulled any strings to help me get advance. I'm not saying that. They just sort of looked over or dismissed some of my proclivities. And I always thought, because, well, I was honest and I did a hard day's work for a hard day's pay. I had a good work ethic, and I still contend that was the major component of that. But not everybody, not all bosses realize that or appreciate that, or, but there have been times where people have definitely been kind to me, and they have helped me, and they overlooked my boo-boos, and they taught me stuff. I think he was suggesting in one sense there was a sense of loyalty there. I was certainly loyal to my boss. I mean, I didn't want to embarrass him by the work efforts I had done. I think there was a time or two where I did, and that was really, the good reason for that was it was very nebulous description of the work product. You know, like it was very unclear what the customer had paid, who was going to pay for this particular study or computer software design or whatever it was going to be. Nebulous exactly to the end product. And there were a couple times that the end product did not meet the client's expectations. And I think in all those cases, it was really because it was such a nebulous definition to start with. He wasn't really sure what he wanted. Whatever he produced wasn't it. I didn't, my boss didn't blame that on me. I think he understood the same situation. But anyway, there have been times where people have been kind to me. Now, does kind fall into the category of loyalty? Loyalty thinks loyalty to one's partner. Loyalty is support no matter what. You feel a sense of responsibility. Is that loyalty? I certainly feel a sense of responsibility to my wife and to my children. I feel a responsibility to all humans, in fact, that I do not want to hurt them. I want to encourage them if I can. I will speak out when something's not right. Is that loyalty? Or it's a combination of other things. Loyalty, one of the interesting aspects of that, I think it falls under the category of loyalty, is I will often, we're watching television in the evening and I'll leave and go out in the garage and smoke a cigarette. And I'll bring up a computer and I get busy with something and an alarm starts going off in my head that says, I've been away from her too long. I need to get back. Obligation comes to mind. That's not what it is. Do I miss her presence? I can't put my finger on that to say yes, but that's not true. That's not meaning that it's not true. Does she miss my presence? I assume she does, and that's why I need to get back. Does she have overriding loyalty to me, and I'm just too dumb and haven't ever felt it, or don't know what it feels like? Loyalty. Anyway, those soldiers, Pickett's charge. The recreation of it started, and they started up toward the ridge line, and there had been a massive Confederate barrage of cannon. It went on for hours, I guess. It was the largest artillery barrage ever conducted on American soil. Was just before Pickett's charge. They said the cannon stretched for a mile on the Confederate side. So they lobbed, like we did in World War II on Pacific Islands before we tended to land Marines. The naval ships with the big guns would just soften up the target, if you will, by this massive battleship barrage of shells on the beaches to try to wipe out as much of a resistance there as possible. So anyway, the Confederates did that. They launched this massive barrage, and it had some impact on the Union cannon at the top, but it did not wipe it out. But the guy up there, and he was given credit for it, he stopped, I think when the Confederate barrage stopped, he stopped firing, although he still had cannon, and he still had plenty of shells. He stopped. That was interpreted by the Confederate side that barrage had done its job, and that the real threat from artillery up on that ridge was had been significantly diminished or maybe even eliminated. That wasn't true, but that was the thought. Well, we've done what we could do. Maybe the Confederates had expended, significant, I know they'd expended significant time trying to soften that ridge up. The order was sent out, send your men up, let's take that ridge. So they start off in some sort of fashion, and it's 1,500 yards, and the range of a rifle at that point is, I don't know if it was 100 yards with accuracy, but maybe 100 yards. And these were still primarily flintlock. You had to reload it down in the barrel rifle, so you can only fire like once every, I don't know, minute. Maybe somebody was really good at it, could fire a couple times a minute. But anyway, they started up, and the Union cannon opened up. Because as soon as the Confederates got within range, which was maybe 1,000 yards, the Union cannon opened up and just started decimating the ranks of the Confederates. Okay, so here you are in this mass group headed up the hill. You're still 1,000 yards away from engaging anybody. There's no sense shooting at anything because you're too far away. So you just have to get up there. Okay, so cannon or balls are raining down on you, and a cannonball would wipe out a whole row of men if it, because it would go right through massive. Anybody in a relatively linear straight line position will be wiped out. Okay, so here they keep going. I mean, people left and right of them are being totally blown apart, and they keep going. And the word at the time, there was reference to it. The word loyalty was thrown in there. And loyalty was, and I've heard it before in some weird way, loyalty was, they were loyalty to their fellow soldiers. They weren't going to let their fellow soldiers die in vain. They were loyal to their friends. They were loyal to their countrymen. They were loyal to the Confederate cause, that they didn't want to be ruled by Washington, D.C. or the North anymore. Forget the slavery issue. They just didn't want to be part of what was the United States of America at the time. They didn't want to be part of it anymore. They were loyal to the concept that they could be their own country. And they were more loyal to their fellow soldiers. We had each other's back. We would help each other. We had helped each other through thick and thin. We had shared meals. There was a loyalty there. They felt loyal, and they continued on. And that did strike me. That is sort of, I do understand, a sort of feels, I could sense that feeling of loyalty. And I understand that. The feeling, though, the feeling is relatively new to me. I don't believe in my childhood and coming up that loyalty was a very common experience for me. I'm trying to think of any particular time that I could label that I was in a situation where loyalty was a big deal. Football players must, if they develop, a team, I think, can develop loyalty among themselves to other teammates. They have loyalty to the team. The concept of we are many, but we're also just one. I think that can be developed. Anyway, the poor old Confederates, as they got closer and closer up the hill, of course, the Union at the top started using canisters, which were, it was a bloody mess. But I have to give credit to some of those Confederate soldiers made it across that 1,500-yard distance, and at the top it became hand-to-hand fighting, literally, or point-blank discharge of weapons. And for a second, for a little while, and that's considered the high point of the Confederacy. Never was Lee to be in a position to have made that sort of breakthrough and potentially pushed the Union back down south, freeing up his route to the north in Philadelphia. It never happened after that. He did win battles after that, but it did not have the significance of his attempt to get to Philadelphia, and he never tried that again. He just didn't have the manpower and the resources. Anyway, that's part of the loyalty thing, and then this fella at the cigarette store talking about loyalty to his daughter, and certainly I have loyalty to my children. Now, I used to tell them, if you get yourself in jail, don't call me because I'm not bailing you out. And I say that, and yet I know that I would have done something. I might not have bailed them out, but I would try to figure out. I maybe got them a lawyer, or I would have assisted in some way because I had loyal to them. Loyalty. I was trying to think about my parents and my grandparents, and there was a loyalty. There was certainly loyalty between my grandparents, who had 5 sons. There was Uncle, I don't know. Then my dad, then Uncle Glenn, Uncle Olin. Frank was first. My dad, Uncle Glenn, Uncle Olin. There were four sons, and there was definitely loyalty between those sons as well as to their father. That was, I saw that. I could feel that. There was a loyalty there. And for as long as they lived, they would get together literally once a year and go hunting together. Hunting was a central backbone piece of my heritage. My grandfather, and his sons, that was in the 40s and 50s, that we lived in an area where hunting was still there, and it was done. You put food on the table by going and killing an animal out in the wild, bringing it back and serving it to your family. There was loyalty. It was very strong loyalty between all my Uncle Frank, my dad, Uncle Glenn, and Uncle Olin. They were really loyal to each other and looked out for each other and cared for each other and had great fun times together. They really did. As brothers, they were close. It was, close loyalty. They were just loyal to each other. They had each other's backs. They looked out for each other. Anyway, the whole concept of loyalty, from what I can tell, it has an emotional component to it, but I don't think it's an elementary emotion on its own. I think it has other elements that make it up, with the top loyalty being a broad sort of moniker put on what individual components feel like. Again, I have to confess that I don't think I've ever really been smacked in the face where I could say, well, I feel a lot of loyalty to that. I have loyalty to what? That's a question for myself. What do I have loyalty to? Certainly wife and family, loyalty to that. I served in the military, but that was an obligation. I didn't look at it as a loyalty thing to the American way of life. I didn't do that. I didn't feel that way. I'm sure people do feel that way. Anyway, this has gone on too long. This is a whole exploration of loyalty, and the point of this one is I don't really know much about it, so I'm asking a lot of questions, and I was hoping maybe you could maybe fill me in on it. You know, what have you ever felt it very strong, and what are its components, and how do you express loyalty to other people, that they can feel loyalty from you? How do you project loyalty to other people? All those are questions I don't have an answer to. Today is the 6th of February 2025, and this is all about loyalty and yama yama yama. I'll go on and stuff.